Men nowadays are lost, sedated, confused, sick, but not in the body, but in the soul. A sickness born of disconnection of what a true man is, trading meaning for materialism. Illusion that comfort is the highest good, money determines your true value, and how many hot chicks you've slept with this week. And most men are afraid of the very things that would make them men, trading real world experiences for courses taught by fake alphas. The same men who pose with rented Lamborghinis, role models disguised as actors in expensive suits. And personally, I'm just getting tired of the nonsense being told to young men of what a true man really is. In 1999, a film came out that changed the way I viewed what a man is and shed light on what we are not. That film was called Fight Club, featuring Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. Edward plays as the narrator, a man trapped in the corporate 9 to 5 he was bred for. On the surface, he was successful. The perfect corporate job, the apartments, the luxury IKEA furniture. He's done everything society has told him, and yet he lives an unfulfilled life. Night after night, he can't even sleep with the discontent of living. Then one day, on a flight home, he meets Tyler Durden. Tyler is everything the narrator wishes he was. Smart, fearless, unapologetic, and no regard for how society sees him. He owns nothing, and because of this, he's owned by nothing. After a brief exchange between the two, they eventually part ways. When the narrator returns home, he discovers his apartment mysteriously exploded. All those possessions he thought defined him are gone. In his grief, he calls Tyler, and Tyler tells him, the things you own end up owning you. And something clicked within the narrator. Under Tyler's influence, the sleepless corporate zombie begins to wake up. The passive consumer becomes an active creator. The man defined by purchases starts defining himself through action. In the back of the bar, Tyler tells the narrator to hit him. Hesitant, he does. And from that moment, he learns. Real scars make real men. He learns to fight, not just with his fists, but against the systems that had domesticated him. He learns pain has purpose, struggle forges character, and in order to step into true masculinity, you have to get a few scars. The narrator stops being a victim of his life, and becomes becoming the author of it. This is the journey every man needs to make, from sleepwalking consumer to awakened warrior, from defining yourself by what you own to defining yourself by what you're willing to sacrifice for. The narrator's transformation shows us the first step towards authentic masculinity. You have to destroy who you think you are in order to discover who you actually are. This is the modern dilemma with men, working themselves into a miserable state of despair, just existing to survive, turning to comfortability and taking advice from people who claim to be men, but underneath, they lie far from one. True men have forgotten their origins. This is why I want to remind you of a true man who changed all of life as we know it. A man who changed the world. His name was Alexander the Great. In 343 BCE, the young Alexander sat across from Aristotle, one of the greatest minds in history. While other princes learned swordplay and politics, Alexander learned logic and ethics. While they studied warfare, he studied the nature of existence itself. He memorized Homer's Iliad, even to the point of carrying it under his pillow on every campaign. The man who would conquer the world spent his youth in philosophy, not just in drill bits, and that's what set him apart. He didn't just conquer lands, he wanted to understand them. He didn't just defeat enemies, he wanted to learn from them. He united wisdom and strength, philosophy and warfare into a single extraordinary life. Modern masculinity has forgotten about this ancient truth, that the greatest warriors have always been philosophers, and the greatest philosophers had never shied away from the battlefield of ideas. In life, we have so many struggles we have to take on, and it can feel like Alexander's army versus the Persian Empire. With only 47,000 men in the Macedonian Empire versus the Persians' 100,000 to 1 million men, it seems like an impossible task to achieve victory. But as history would have it, Alexander did just that. He didn't fight for control, he fought to expand knowledge and connection. He brought botanists to study plants, historians to record what they found, and engineers to preserve the wonders they discovered. In Egypt, he honored the culture, and built the city of Alexandria, a beacon of knowledge that would house the greatest library in the world. And on the other hand, this is where we introduce the man Alexander faced. A man I see as the modern-day alpha role models as we see now, Darius III. Darius III looked like a king. Golden chariot, glittering army, the title King of Kings. But the truth was, he didn't earn it. He inherited the image of power. At the Battle of Issus, Alexander broke through Darius' lines and charged directly at him. And what did Darius do? He fled. He abandoned his own mother, his wife, and his daughters. Left them to be captured. That's not a king. That's not a man. That's an image crumbling under the weight of reality. It's the same thing we see today. All these fake alphas, the ones shouting the loudest about dominance and strength, they're just Darius in disguise. They look the part. They wear the clothes. They sell you the dream of being a man. But when life pushes, when loyalty is tested, when responsibility is heavy, they run. They leave women broken. They leave brothers behind. They leave legacies empty. Darius had abandoned his own mother, wife, and daughters from the fear of facing a true man. In history, captured women would face slavery, humiliation, and assault. Even queens were trophies. And today, many fake alphas still treat women as props for status, to be replaced when convenient. When Darius' mother heard of a false rumor of her son's death, Alexander personally comforted her. That's not weakness, that's strength. That is what they would say the divine masculine, protecting and honoring the feminine, even when the world calls her your enemy. Later, Darius fled east. Betrayed by his own men, they stabbed him, leaving him dying in a cart. Alexander's men found him just before he died. Whether they spoke or not, history agrees on what actually happened next. Alexander removed his cloak, covered Darius' body, and sent him back to Persepolis for a king's burial. Then he hunted down Basis, the traitor, and executed him. Because even if Darius wasn't a good man, the death he was given wasn't right. And Alexander knew this, and he sought to fix that. That's the thing about real men. They don't need to humiliate others to prove their strength. They don't just win, they lead, they protect, they build. And that's the same transformation we see in Fight Club. The narrator begins a man trapped in comfort, sedated by possessions and routine. Tyler Durden is his Alexander, the warrior inside him, the man who charges straight at the challenge instead of running away from it. Tyler teaches him to fight, to build, to lead, until the image of what he thought he was shatters, and the real man steps forward. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club, because real men don't need to announce their becoming, they just become.